That's it. Ready. Okay, guys. So as you could see before, this week is the week number 6, right? And our topic for this week it's money and finances. No, finances. Well, it's a very transparent word, similar to Spanish, which is finance, right? So of course, we're going to talk about like things that has to do with money, my God, loans. What is the meaning of loans? What is that, loans?
Préstamo.
Préstamo, yes, exactly. It's similar just to a credit, no? So in that case, we're going to talk about a little bit of this vocabulary, but more important than that is that we are going to work around something that it's essential in our sentences, and it's going to be the object. Ready? So you said like, what do you mean, teacher, an object? Like the bills? What is the name of this object? What is the name of this object?
Cash.
Cash, it means efectivo. So it's all the money like this one and the other one that it's circular. But these ones are called bills, no? So, like billetes, right? And these ones are going to be coins, right? So, but yes, in general, all of this is cash, right? So, guys, today I am going to ask you first one question, then we can start talking about the other thing. Do you normally borrow or lend money or neither of them? So in this case, we have two different words, borrow and lend. What is the meaning of borrow and what is the meaning of lend?
Pedir prestado y prestar.
Muy bien, Danny, excellent, very good. So borrow, it means pedir prestado. So when you receive something, right? And lend, it means prestar. So in that case, one person, it's giving one thing to the other, like in a loan, right? So when you talk about a lend, borrow is more like a permission, like, yes, like ask for something lent. Yes. So ask one person to lend you something. Yes. So guys, what do you think? Do you normally borrow or lend money or neither of them? Nor not borrow nor lend. What do you think?
Teacher, in my case, I don't used to lend money because I have had bad experiences, but I borrow money just when it's necessary.
Okay. Okay, okay, great. Thank you, Christian. Very good. What about the other guys? Annie?
In my case,
Yes?
neither of them.
Neither of them. Muy bien. Very good. Okay, so good. And Brian, what do you think? Borrow or lend money or neither of them?
Oh, teacher, I normally don't ask for borrow.
Okay, very good, excellent. Yeah, so well, in general terms, me either. I don't like to, of course, in these times, nobody likes to lend money because when you lend money, you lose the friend and also the money. So, and well, borrowing money, it's not my first choice, no? So it's like Christian. I can do it, but maybe if it's an emergency and I pay it right back. Yeah, I don't like to be in someone's debt. What is the meaning of be on someone's debt? Someone's debt. What do you mean is that expression? What do you think it's that expression meaning? Be on someone's debt.
Estar en deuda con alguien.
Exactly, very good. Estar en deuda con alguien. So I don't like that, right? Because I don't like to like owe anything to anybody. No, muy bien. So, guys, in this case, we are going to have to start over here with, oh my God, sorry, I just moved it to the back. Good, over here. I'm going to ask you some questions, but more important than the questions, it's to pay attention to the verb. Yeah. Independently, if you tell me yes or no, I want you to analyze the question. Yes. Question number one, it says, do you normally pay your debts on time? What's the meaning of pay?
Okay.
Pagar.
Pagar.
Exactly. Bueno, of course, Daniela and Brian, no, because they don't borrow money, so they don't have debts. But Chris, what about you? Do you pay your debts on time, like quickly, or do you take some time to pay?
No, I pay on time all the time, always.
Exactly. Yeah, of course, you're very responsible. I believe you. Yes. Muy bien. Excellent. Number two, in this moment of your life, do you owe something to someone? And here, what is the meaning of owe?
Deber.
Deber. Muy bien. Very good, Danny. So, guys, in this moment of your life, oh my God, do you owe something to someone? I owe some money to my mom. My mom lent me some money before when I was buying my apartment. She lent me some money for the washing machine, for the refrigerator. So I still owe my mother that money, but I'm going to pay her, of course. But what about you? Do you owe something to someone or nothing?
No, teacher.
Nothing, nothing to nobody. Okay, okay. Not only money, no, because when we talk about owe, it's not restrictively talking about money. I can owe an invitation, for example. No, so example in my case, I owe my wife a dinner invitation because I told her like, okay, we gotta go to have dinner, but we haven't had the time. So in this moment, I owe my wife an invitation. Yes. So what about that? Maybe you don't owe people money, but do you owe other things like an invitation or an apology? We can also owe apologies, no? For example, you said, "Ah, you know what? I discussed with my brother, so I owe him an apology." It could be also like that, no? So what do you think? Do you owe something that is not money or neither of them?
Teacher, in my case, I owe something. No, in my case, I owe some money to my cousin.
Mm,
The that he he lent me when I was unemployed.
unemployed. Unemployed. Okay, very good. Excellent. So Christian owes his cousin money that his cousin lent him, o sea, Christian, right, when he was unemployed. Okay, very good. So, and the last question, who does currently, o sea, in this moment, who does currently provide your incomes? Two questions. Question number one, what is the meaning of provide, guys?
Proporcionar.
Proporcionar o proveer, very good. And incomes,
¿Como ganancias?
sí, ingresos más bien. ¿Ready? Porque ganancias, digamos que es lo que obtienes extra de algo que invertiste, que sería profits, right? Profit, si es ganancias, es como, digamos, lo que te renta algo que tú invertiste. Pero en este caso es incomes, es como el dinero que te entra mensual, right? So, who does currently provide you your incomes? Your job, your parents, your wife, no sé, Dani.
I currently provide my incomes to my job.
Okay, from my job. Yes.
From my job. Yes.
Good. Okay, very good. So you currently provide. Well, in that case, I would say I currently provide, pero como es reflexivo sería a mí misma. How do you say a mí misma? Myself, right? So I currently provide myself my incomes. That's it. Muy bien, excellent. That's great. Brian, what about you? Who does currently provide your incomes? Your mom, your
No,
boss?
teacher, me too. The job. and a little investment.
Ah, good. Investment. Muy bien, very good. So you have two incomes provided by your job and also by a little investment. Perfecto. That's great. ¿Listo? So guys, in this case, we have 33 different verbs, which are basic in this case. We have pay, owe, and provide. Yes? But as you notice, these verbs, all of them have some words after them. Yes? In this case, for example, is your debts, right? In this case, actually, it's something to someone, right? So two different words, right? And in here also we have you and your incomes, two different words, right? Let's remember that those words that we have after the verb are called objects. Yes? The objects are the words or the subjects or the nouns that receive the action. Yes? In this case, for example, what do I pay? My debts. That's what I pay, right? In this case, what do I owe? Something. Could be money, could be an apology, could be an invitation, something. Yes? What is what I provide? In that case, my incomes, right? So they say, who does currently provide your incomes? So those words that we have afterwards, after the verb, are going to be the objects and they receive the action, right? So in this case, we know that we are going to have three different parts. Subjects is the person who does the action. Yes. For example, I, you, he, she, it, Daniela, Christian, Brian, people, Colombians, or whatever. ¿Cierto? Is the person who does the action. Does the action. ¿Cierto? The verb, pues, es esa acción. Is that action that I am mentioning, ¿no? Owe, pay, give, provide, lend, borrow. Yes. And then the object is the one that it's receiving the action. Cuando me pregunto qué presté, ese es el objeto. Cuando me pregunto qué pedí prestado, ese es el objeto. Cuando me pregunto qué di, ese es el objeto. Right? So in that case, the object is the thing that receives the action. Right? Normally, it's going to be located like the subject, the verb, and the complement in that order. Yes, because it's this one related to this one. This is the person that does the action, and this is the object that receives the action. That is why we locate or we structure the sentence in that way. Ready? Because it's like sequential. Yeah, one after the other. Okay. Now, for example, here, I have an example. It says, my brain keeps sending me signals, but I keep asking to him. Ready? Because I have two different sentences. My brain keeps sending me signals, right? Of course, my brain, it's the subject, ¿cierto? Keeps sending me, it's the action. What is the object then? What is the object?
Signals.
Signals, muy bien, Danny, excellent. Because if I ask, ¿qué es lo que me envía? Signals, right? But then, what do we have here? Me. What is that? ¿Qué será ese me ahí? ¿No? Any ideas?
Another subject.
Another subject? Casi. It's another object. Ready? It's not another subject, but it's another object. And I want you to remember that some verbs can receive two different objects, right? In this case, for example, the verb send, yes, send, can receive two different objects. It's a verb that is called detransitive. Detransitive because it receives two different objects, right? When we have two different objects, always one of the object is going to be direct object, and the other object is going to be indirect object. Yes? So in this case, we have direct and indirect object. Now, what's the difference? The difference is that the direct object is the one that receives directly the action. Yes? So the verb goes over the direct object. Okay? And then afterwards, the indirect object receives the direct object, right? It's like a chain of, like a sequence, right? So in that case, the subject does the verb goes over the object, over, in this case, the direct object, and the direct object goes over the indirect object. Yes? Entonces, ¿quién recibe las señales?
Me.
Me. So the brain sends the signals, but the signals are received by me, right? So in that case, the indirect object is the one that receives the information of the object, the first object, right? If we go back into the next paragraph, into the next questions, right? We say, for example, that O, it's a transitive verb, yes? In this case, when we say owe something to someone, we have object here and object there. What do you think, guys? What is the direct object and what is the indirect object? Something is one object and someone is the other object, but which one is direct and which one is indirect?
Teacher, something can be object indirect. Is someone object direct?
Object direct, direct object. Well, I don't know. Preguntémonos algo. ¿Qué es lo que debemos? In this case, something or someone? What is what we owe? When I say I owe TTT, it's something or it's someone?
Something.
Something, yes. So in that case, the something, it's the direct object because it's exactly what I owe. Yes. Lo que yo debo no es alguien, sino algo. Ready? Una invitación, dinero, una disculpa, lo que sea, whatever. Ese es el objeto directo porque es lo que yo debo. Ready? Ahora, someone, it's the person that is going to receive the invitation or the apology or the money, right? So that is not the direct object, no es lo que debo, es a quién se lo debo, right? So in that case, it's going to be the indirect object, right? Because it's like, okay, in this moment of your life, do you owe money to your mother? So the money, it's the direct object, and the mother, it's the indirect object because she's the one that is going to receive the direct object, o sea, the money, right? Let's check the second one, the third one, sorry. Who does currently provide you your incomes? Again, one object is you, the other one is your incomes. Which one is direct and which one is indirect?
You is direct and your incomes is indirect.
Ok, Dani, so, ¿qué es lo que proveo o qué es lo que proporciono? ¿Me proporciono a mí mismo? No. ¿Qué es lo que proporciono? What is what I provide? Me? The income.
Ingresos.
Los ingresos, ¿cierto? Of course. Entonces, lo que yo proveo realmente son los incomes, right? ¿A quién se los proveo? Bueno, o digamos en este caso, ¿a quién se le provee? The question was about you. Entonces, here, it's different from this one. Here, the direct object is afterwards, and the indirect object is before. Entonces, I have the two possibilities. Sometimes I can have subject, verb, direct object, and indirect object. Or sometimes it's not that way. I can use subject, verb, indirect object, and then the direct object. Mm. In other cases, it's not always necessary to include the indirect object, no? For example, in this case, I said, do you normally pay your debts on time? On time, it's a complement of time. Nothing to do. Your debts, what do you think? It's direct object or indirect object?
Direct.
Direct, of course, Brian, because it's what I pay. When I say, do you normally pay? What do you pay? With your debts. Okay, so that is the direct object. In this case, for example, I don't have to use indirect object. Teacher, but I can include it? Of course. Said, for example, I normally, I normally pay my debts. Sorry, my debts to my friends on time. One more time, on time. It's just the complement of time, yes. But here I have my debts and my friends. Again, I have two objects. Which one is direct? Which one is indirect?
The debts are direct and the friends are indirect.
Correct. The debts are the direct object because it's what I pay. Yes, so it's the direct object. And who receives that money or those debts? My friends. Okay, so of course, that one is going to be the indirect object. So you have to analyze who or which of the objects receives the action, and then which of the objects receives the other object. Ready? So you are going to practice a little bit more, and I'm going to tell you how to recognize when we use one way or the other. When I use first the direct object and then the indirect, or when I use first the indirect and then the direct object. Don't worry about it. We're going to do that in a second. But first, what we have here is a complete noun. So un sustantivo completo, your debts. Someone, something, right? But remember that I can also replace those things by object pronouns. So remember that the object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them, depending, of course, on the object. No? For example, in this case, I have the first question. Do you eat ajiaco? You could say, yes, I like. What could be the object pronoun corresponding with ajiaco?
Eat.
Of course, Danny, very good, because it's a dish, no? So here it's when we are going to start creating those little words or those little contractions with the verb and the object pronoun. Then I said, yes, I like it. I say it, it's making reference, of course, to ajiaco. But I don't have to mention all a way again, sorry, the name of the object. I can just replace it by the object pronouns. Okay. For example, what about if I say, do you know Spider-Man? Okay, yes, I know.
Him.
Of course, I know him. Yeah. In this case, the H almost doesn't sound. It's like I know him, right? Because we always make the association in pronunciation. So it's like a contraction, no? Muy bien, very good. Final question. Do you like sorry, here is horror movies? No, I don't like.
Them.
Muy bien, very good. Which in this case, I don't like them. Yes, I don't like them. That th almost doesn't sound, right? Because this, as a, oh my God, this combination between the verb and the object pronoun is always reduced in pronunciation. Ready? So there's like, I like it, I know him, I don't like them, yes, or I don't like him. Almost do not sound the first consonant and just sound the final, like, sounds, right? In this case, it sounds complete, it, right? But really, really, really short, okay? Bueno, guys, so now you know that we have objects, direct and indirect, and also that we have object pronouns that they can replace the objects that we used before. Yeah. For example, I'm going to tell that I give mom a kiss. Guys, quickly, in this case, which one is the indirect object?
Kiss.
He's Danny, but pregúntense esto. What is what you give? What do you give? Do you give your mom or do you give a kiss?
Mom.
Do you give your... No, you gave a kiss, right? Eso es lo que dieron. Ahora, ¿quién recibe el beso?
Mom.
Exactly. So in that case, careful. The indirect object is going to be my mom because she is the one that receives the kiss. And the kiss is the direct object because that is exactly what I give. ¿Qué fue lo que leí? A kiss, right? Ahora, take into account that I can also do it in another way. I can say, I give a kiss to my mom or to mom, right? It doesn't change anything. This continues to be the direct object and this continues to be the indirect object, but I just changed the position. What can I use? The one that you prefer, depending on the verb. Some verbs accept both forms. Other verbs accept only one form. For example, give accept both forms. The indirect object first and then the direct object, or the common one that it's direct object and then the indirect object. But not all the verbs accept both forms. Okay, so let's check this out. Over here. The first structure is first the direct object, second the indirect object, but in the middle I have a preposition. For example, I give a kiss to my mom. Yes. One thing is to say a, le doy o le paso a. Another thing it's para, ¿cierto? For example, I don't know. I cook lasagna, lasagna for you guys. It's an example. I use what did I cook? What is the direct object here? What was what I cooked?
The lasagna.
The lasagna. So the lasagna is the direct object. And for whom? For you. So this is the indirect object. In the middle, I use for, because in that case it's para tal persona. No a tal persona, sino para tal persona, right? Depending also the verb. Okay? So in this case, guys, we have verbs such as announce, which is anunciar, describe, which is describir, of course, explain, explicar, mention, mencionar, provide, proveer, recommend, return, and say. Hmm? Remember that we never use I say, I say it. I say it to you. That's the one. I never say it, for example, I say you. No, that case, it's the verb tell. Ese sí acepta, I tell you. This case, te lo dije, but using direct object, the preposition, and then the indirect object, ¿cierto? Entonces, careful. These verbs only accept this preposition, right? Normally, they do not accept the other because it can be a misunderstanding. For example, if I say, I explain, let's say I explain Daniela the passive voice, for example. It's correct or incorrect?
Incorrect.
Incorrect. Because when I say I explain Daniela, it's like Daniela is the direct object. So I said it could mean, podría significar like I explain Daniela, it means like this is Daniela, this is the face of Daniela, this is the eyes of Daniela, blah, blah, explaining the person. But no, what I explain, it's the topic, right? So the correct sentence could be I explain the passive voice for her, ¿cierto? For Daniela. Or if I don't want to repeat the name, for her, with the object pronoun. Ready? These verbs are going to use or are going to like be used better in this structure, right? Direct object, to and for, and then the indirect object. What do you think, guys? Questions, problems, difficulties? Good?
It's clear for me, teacher.
Mhm. Yes, guys, the other two, fine, no problem.
Yes, teacher.
Great, excellent. On the other hand, we have the other verbs which only accept the other structure. They are not so many, sorry. It's just allow, ask, cause, and cost. Allow, permitir, ask, pedir o preguntar, cause, causar, and cost, costar. Ready? So in that case, you always use the indirect object first and the direct object later. So me costó, me causó, me pidió, me permitió. Yes. So for example, I can say, I don't know, let's say, teacher, you know, teacher, allowed me 10 minutes more. 10 minutes more. Yeah. What is what I allowed? The 10 minutes more. That is the direct object. To whom? Ah, no, to me. Ah, okay, that's the indirect object, right? In this case, that's what we're going to do. Are going to switch position. Ready? Cause me, ask me, allow me. But of course, me, it's not the only possibility. I can use an object pronoun different, allow her, cost us, cost them, right? Or with the name. Yeah. I don't know. The teacher allowed Brian 10 minutes more, depending who receives the action. Okay. Guys, notice that usually when we have two objects, the direct object is something, it's a thing, money, a topic, something. And the indirect object, usually it's a person because it's a person that is receiving the first action with the first object, right? For example, in here, the indirect object, it's me or him or her or a person, yeah? In this case, almost the same. I explained the passive voice to Kristen or for Kristen. The indirect object, one more time, it's a person. Over here, the indirect object is a person. The indirect object is a person. The indirect object is a person, right? Normally, the indirect object is a person. Not always, but it's more is the most common way. Ready? But of course, the indirect object can be another thing. No? For example, I don't know, let's say the crash caused the car a lot of damage. Yes, a lot of damage. Then we have, okay, the crash is the subject, el choque, ¿cierto? Caused is the verb. Then we have the car and we have a lot of damage. ¿Qué causó? ¿O qué se causó? A lot of damage. So that is the direct object. ¿A quién se lo causaron? Al carro. Okay, the car, it's the indirect object. But it's like not so common examples, no? The most common examples, the indirect object is going to be a person. ¿Listo, guys? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo van hasta ahí? Questions, almost there. Clear about the structures? ¿Ambas estructuras claras? Yes?
Yes, teacher.
Muy bien, excellent, right? And then here in the middle, we have some other verbs which allow you to use both structures. Get, give, lend, offer, sell, send, show, teach, and tell. You can decide which one do you want to use. Example, I said, you know what? I teach the objects to you. Yeah, the objects to you. Great. Or I can also decide to use, you know what? I teach you the objects. Yeah, you, indirect object, the objects, direct object. So with the verbs that we have here in the middle, you can use both different forms, depending on you, which one do you want? Ready? So guys, of course, it's a lot of vocabulary, but it would be a good idea that you try to remember and memorize these kind of structures. Then you can start testing which one sounds better. Probably you're going to be right. I mean, There is not like a logical way to learn this thing, but if you test the sentence, put it together, try both structures, and then you said, no, this one doesn't sound right. Yes, be very logical and try to recognize when one sentence works or when it works better the other. Okay. Now, Christian, help me to read the final example over here, Mike.
My bank counselor described the process for me. It is going to cost me a lot of bucks.
Thank you. So, well, here it misses a period, no? Sorry. So it says, my bank counselor described the process for me. Describe, it's a verb that uses the first structure. So I cannot say, describe me the process, like in Spanish, we said, me describió. No, no. Describe, describió el proceso para mí. ¿Ya? Y o sea, para decir, me describió, es como que dijo, sí, mire, aquí es este, sí, describió a la persona, ¿no? Tiene ojos claros, tiene cabello largo. No, lo que describió fue el proceso. Then my bank counselor described the process for me, and it is going to cost, es decir, es al revés, cost me, right, a lot of bucks. Good. Entonces, indirect object first, and direct object later. Hmm? Ready? Listo, guys. So let's try to make a couple of activities over here. Yeah. Ah, bueno, important. We're going to have two um, clarifications, about the object pronouns. ¿Listo? So it says, when the direct object is a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. Okay? For example, my best friend is the subject, ¿cierto? Owes money to me. Yes? So, ¿qué es lo que debe? Money. Ahí está, normal. Right? No problem. Yes? So, when it's a pronoun, when it's a thing, it goes like this. But if it's a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. So, my best friend owes it, making the association to me. That it is making reference to what? What is it referring to when I say it? What is that?
Money.
To the money. Very good. Excellent, right? Muy bien. But on the other hand, when the indirect object is a pronoun, it can go before or after the verb. Yes? Of course, depending the verb, no? Especially when we have those verbs of two options. Yes? Because on the other part, there is only one option. But in this case, when we have the verbs of two options, you have to be careful when you use the object pronouns. So when you use the indirect object as a pronoun, it has to go before, sorry, yes, it can go before or after the direct object. Example, the teacher gave me the best grade. Of course, me, I am going to be the indirect object. No problem. It's because it's with the verb give, no, that it's possible both options. But in this case, the teacher gave the best grade to me. Bueno, aquí, sorry, no alcanza a ver, but it's the teacher gave the best grade to me, right? So the indirect object is after that. Aquí está, indirect object. After the direct object. En cambio, cuando es direct object, siempre va a ir antes de. ¿Listo? Try. There is no change. Example, I have show, graphics, and I. Yeah. I am the indirect object. The graphics, of course, are the direct object. And show is the verb. Yeah. So let's call her, no sé, let's call her Maria. That's it. Yes. Guys, create a sentence in which you tell me, Maria, and what did she do? Taking into account that I am the indirect object and the graphics are the direct object. Go ahead. How would it be the sentence over here?
Mm, Maria shows the graphics. For me?
To me, because me las
To
mostró
me.
a mí. Yes, exactly. Muy bien, Dani. So the Maria shows the graphics to me. Possibility number one. Another possibility?
Maria shows me the graphics.
Very good. María shows me the graphics, right? Perfecto, excellent. ¿Listo? Entonces, en ese caso pusiste el objeto indirecto como pronombre, ¿cierto? Por lo tanto, podía ir adelante, podía ir atrás, así como lo dice acá. Puede ir antes o después del objeto directo. Excelente. Example number two. María teaches calculus my sister. Ready? So let's see, how could it be? Of course, calculus is what she teaches, so it's the direct object. My sister is the person that is receiving, so it's the indirect object. Let's see it.
Maria teach calculus to my sister.
Muy bien, María teaches, porque esta es la persona, María teaches calculus to my sister. ¿Cierto? Excellent. Another possibility? No, no more. Bueno, okay. I can also say that Maria teaches my sister calculus because teach is a verb that accepts both options, no? So I can say that Maria teaches my sister calculus, and it's also great, no problem, right? Now, what happens if I don't want to use the complete name, but I want to use the object pronoun? If I want to replace my sister, good, because it's her, and it's the indirect object, so it can go before or after. I can say Maria teaches her calculus. Or Maria teaches calculus to her, and it's fine because it's the indirect object. But if I want to replace the direct object, calculus in this case would be it. I can only put it before the indirect object, never after that. I can say Maria teaches it to my sister, but I cannot say Maria teaches my sister it. No, it doesn't sound right, no? So every time that this is replaced by an object pronoun, it goes in the first structure. O sea, first the direct object and then the indirect object. Okay? Number three, Maria gets cup of coffee, boss. Tell me.
Maria gets a cup of coffee to her boss.
Exactly, very good. So she gets a cup of coffee to her boss, right? And of course, the other possibility would be Maria gets her boss a cup of coffee. Guys, replace one of the objects with the object pronoun. Just one. El que quieran. Cup of coffee or boss. So give me an option using the object pronoun.
Maria gets him a cup of coffee.
Perfecto, muy bien, very good. So Maria gets him, of course, her boss. Yes. ¿Qué le trajo? A cup of coffee. Great. Or Maria gets a cup of coffee for him or to him. Great, no problem. ¿Listo? And if I want to replace a cup of coffee, it would be it, but it could be only Maria gets it for him or to him. That's it. No, no more, right? And the last one, easily, Maria offers a client, yes, or offers her client an available home. Or Maria offers an available home for her client, ¿cierto? Or Maria offers it for him or for the client, no? So I can have many possibilities, but as far as I recognize which one is the direct object and which one is the indirect object, everything is going to be fine. Okay? Guys, easy to recognize? Fácil de reconocer or no? Or it's still a little bit tricky?
No, teacher, it's okay, it's easy.
Very good. Wonderful. Okay, guys. Now, you're going to improve my financial life. Ready? So we're going to do a brainstorming. Do you remember what is a brainstorm? No? No idea what is a brainstorm?
Lluvia de ideas.
No, yes, very good. So you're going to just tell me whatever comes to your mind. About what? It says, think on some mini tips that could help people for improving their financial life. Think on who does the action and who receives. Of course, so you have to use the direct and indirect object. Example number one, Danny, please.
You can only allow your 10% of your salary for free spending.
Exactly. So we use allow. It's a verb that uses the second structure, no? So I said, okay, first the indirect object, then the direct object, right? Okay, so you can only allow you, okay, 10% of your salary for free spend. Y es un tip para mejorar mi vida financiera. Example number two, Brian, please.
It's essential that you return money to people who lend it to you.
Good. So in that case, return, which is a verb that only accepts the first structure, necessarily it's going to be the direct object, the preposition, and then the indirect object, right? So it is essential that you return que money again to people who lend it to you. In here, we use another one which is lent it to you. Bueno, se acepta ambas opciones, así que in that case, who lent money to you, or in this case, who lended para no repetir money, right? So improvise, no, not improvise, create it. Don't worry, you have time. Create one tip for improving our financial life, but include two objects, one direct and one indirect. How do you do that? Think on who does the action and who receives the action. Ready? Then you can recognize which one is a indirect object and which one is a indirect object. Ready? Go ahead, guys. You have 2 minutes. Do it. Think on the possible tip. What is a good idea when we talk about money? It's a good idea to spend, to save. What do you think? Go ahead.
Teacher, you should create a passive income to not depend on your salary. Teacher, the audio.
Thank you, Brian. I'm sorry. So you use the verb create, but create is not it's not a what? The transitive verb. We can use it, but well, for example, you, I mean, my God, come on. You should create what we create? The budget, right? So you should create a budget. But Brian, who is going to receive the budget? Me? You?
The person that
The
the need.
person, right? So as I said, you, so it's a reflexive pronoun because it's para sí mismo, right? So in that case, you should create a budget for yourself. Yes, so you should create a budget for yourself. Continue así. You should create a budget for yourself. What was the last part?
For no depend of your salary.
Listo. For not, when I say this structure for not, remember that for siempre tiene un verbo después, pero en ing. So, for not depending y depend siempre está con el verbo on. For not depending on your salary. Muy bien. Very good. So, that's great. Listo. Wonderful recommendation, Brian. Do you have other, Chris, Danny? We can still wait a little bit, no?
Teacher,
Mhm.
okay. Um, you could take into account that you shouldn't spend money in unnecessary things.
You shouldn't spend money on unnecessary things. For whom? For any other people? Or for nobody? Or just for myself?
For for other people. But
Uh-huh.
I said you could take into account that you shouldn't spend money on unnecessary things.
Yes. Yeah. The first part it was like an introduction. You could take into account. Great. Excellent. So that you shouldn't spend money on unnecessary things for no one. Wait. That's not the one. For no one. Yes. Spend, it's a transitive verb. Just spend money. That's it. No more. ¿Qué se gasta? El dinero. Pero no es transitivo, es decir, no recae sobre un segundo objeto. ¿Qué si recae sobre un segundo objeto? Buy. Yeah. So it's a synonym of spend, more or less. So you shouldn't buy unnecessary things. ¿Cierto? No deberías comprar cosas innecesarias para nadie. En ese caso, si hay, ¿qué es lo que no deberías comprar? Unnecessary things, direct object. ¿Para quién? ¿Quién lo recibiría? Nadie. Indirect object. ¿Ready? Entonces, fíjense que la selección del verbo depende, o digamos que tiene que tener mucho cuidado en la selección del verbo, porque dependiendo del verbo, puede que sí tenga dos objetos o puede que no. Algunos objetos son simplemente, ay, perdón, algunos verbos son solamente transitivos, pero estos, todos los que tengo acá son ditransitivos, ditransitive. Significa que tienen dos objetos, ¿vale? Si como el verbo spend es solamente transitivo, pues no podría hacer este ejercicio porque no tiene dos objetos, solo tiene uno. ¿Listo, guys? Entonces, careful with the selection of the verb. Muy bien. Danny, you're the last one, my dear.
It is important that you pay the installments to the bank.
You pay the what, sorry?
Cuotas. No sé muy bien cómo se dice.
Fees, could be the fees, or could be tuition. No, tuition es como la matrícula, ¿no? The fees, o the
To the
state.
bank.
Yes, puede ser también the statements. Again?
to the bank.
Exactly. Very good. So to the bank. Muy bien. Great. It's important, no? So in that case, great. You use what do you pay? The statements of the fees, direct object. And for whom? Oh, to whom? To the bank, the indirect object. Understand, guys? So, of course, the other recommendations were fine. You shouldn't spend money on unnecessary things. Good, excellent. You should create a budget for yourself. It was great. I just tried to accommodate it for using the two objects, but the other recommendations were fine. Okay, so do not worry, they were great. Okay, guys. So the purpose of today's class it was to make you realize that there are many parts of the sentence that we use like mechanically, but we have to be aware or we have to be conscious of those special parts of the sentences. For example, the objects, that they are easy, but also they are important to work and to study and to know how they work so we can use them correctly. Okay. Also, increase the vocabulary of verbs. Ready? So important. Increase the vocabulary of verbs and try to memorize which ones work with one structure and which ones work with the other structure. Ready, guys? Questions, difficulties, problems, anything at all, or everything fine? What do you think?
Clear, teacher.
Teacher, now it's clear.
Very good. Okay. So, guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for the participation. See you on Thursday at 8 p.m. Okay, with the class 6.2. Okay, if you have questions or anything, any difficulties, let me know on WhatsApp and nothing until there. So until next Thursday at 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, teacher. Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
teacher.
Have a good
Teacher,
night.
thanks.
Bye bye.